Do the blood moon tetrads point to the rapture? Now, what's a blood moon tetrad? We're going to get into that, but first we need to go to Scripture. What do you believe the stars are for? I believe they're a calendar. And when we read the Bible, we find that that's what the stars are for. Psalm chapter 19, verse 1 through 6. The heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament showeth his handiwork. What is the heavens? All the stars and planets. Day unto day uttereth speech, and night unto night showeth knowledge. There's no speech nor language where their voice is not heard. What? That literally says that the heavens, the stars, have a language and a speech, and there's a knowledge that they show if you know how to look at it. Their line is gone out through all the earth, and their words to the end of the world. In them hath he set a tabernacle for the sun. Now look at this, which is as a bridegroom cometh out of his chamber, and rejoiceth as a strong man to run a race. Who's the bridegroom? Jesus. Malachi calls him the Son of Righteousness, S-U-N. And someday he's coming from up there to come get him a bride. And it's in the context of the stars are telling people that. Now look at this. And let them be for signs, for seasons, for days, for years. Now, who are signs for? 1 Corinthians 1:22 says the Jews seek after a sign. And so basically, the Jews have always looked up at the heavens and said, now there's some signs that God's going to show, because the heavens, the stars and the planets, they all are for signs. So if God is showing the Jews future events that's going to take place for them, can we glean from that and go, well, if we know this is going to happen for them here, then could we possibly know that we're in the time or the season of the rapture? That September 23rd sign took place in 2017. Do you know that on December of 2017, Trump announced that the capital of Israel is Jerusalem? Just as God sent a star to mark where Jesus was born, God is sending other celestial events to mark future events. And that's in the Bible. Joel chapter 2 and verse 30. And I will show wonders in the heavens and in the earth, blood and fire and pillars of smoke. The sun shall be turned into darkness and the moon into blood before the great and terrible day of the Lord come. What is the sun being turned into darkness? That's called an eclipse. And there are what's called blood moon tetrads. Now what is a tetrad? Tetrad means 4 of them. There are blood moon tetrads that happen throughout history over the last 2,000 years, and they're very, very, very rare. And from about 162 to 163, there was one. Now, of course, it was back around the time of Christ when he died, we saw something. So here's just the first 800 years after Jesus. But in 162 to 163, there was a massive persecution against Jews. But then something interesting happens, and it's right here. In 1493 to 1494, there's a blood moon. Did you know 1492, all the Jews were kicked out of Spain? And the Kingdom of Spain said, we want no Jews here, get out. And in 1493, the rest of Europe told the Jews, we don't want you, get out. And it just so happens there's 4 blood moons on those dates, on that time in history when the Jews were completely cast out of Europe and told you can't live here anymore. In the next blood moon tetrad is 1949 to 1950. Now, why would that mean anything to the Israel? 1948, Israel became a nation. All right? The United Nations said, you're now a nation again in 1948. And they did not start their government, the Knesset, until 1949. And in 1949 was the start of a blood moon tetrad. 4 blood moons that they could see in Israel if they just looked up. Do you think that was a coincidence? Well, they got their land back, but guess what they didn't get back? They didn't get Jerusalem back. So they got to live around the area, but they didn't get to live in Jerusalem. And there just happened to be another blood moon tetrad. Guess in what date? 1967 to 1968. 1967 was the 6-Day War. And during the 6-Day War, they captured the capital of Jerusalem. And it just happened to correspond with these 4 moons in heaven showing Do you know when the next blood moon tetrad will take place? The next one is 2032 to 2033. Does that mean anything? Well, that's exactly 2,000 years after Jesus died. And the book of Hosea says, after 2 days and the third day, I'll go back to dealing with them. And a day with the Lord's 1,000 years, 1,000 years. You couldn't make this up. And we know our Bible, we know God's going back to dealing with them. So, what is 7 years subtracted from 2033? 2026. And if there's a 7-year tribulation, wouldn't it be great if the rapture was in 2026? Because those red moons would mark the coming of Jesus at that time for the Battle of Armageddon. I don't know. It's like Paul says, we see through a glass darkly. But I do know we're pretty close to the rapture, because we're pretty close to God going back to dealing with Israel, and those have to mean something for them. But you, brethren, are not in darkness, that that day should take you as a thief. The next blood moon is like way, 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 way out there. How far out? I didn't look. I'd have to look it up. But it's so far out, it's just like, what was it, 2050 something or something? I forget. I'd have to look it up. So it's like, well, that doesn't make much sense.